Hello and welcome to this episode of the Sticky Note Marketing Show. I am your host, Mary Czarnecki, and today I am excited to welcome our guest expert, Greg Licciardi. He is here from the ANA. He's also taught at Fordham and Seton Hall, and he is the author of the book we're going to be talking about today, which is the Holy Grail of Marketing. And we're going to be digging into some really important topics about AI, what's working now in marketing, what inspired him to write this book, and what lessons might be pulled from the book that we're going to share with you today. Everything from what those coming out of B school for the very first time getting into marketing need to know, to whether or not you're the founder of a startup or running a billion-dollar brand, how you can use some of the lessons that he's included in his book. So thank you so much. Appreciate you being here, Greg, and looking forward to digging into this with you today.
Thank you, Mary. It's so great and such an honor to be on your podcast. Really excited to be here today.
Amazing. I know there are going to be people watching and listening that are familiar with you, maybe that have read the book, but for those who are meeting you for the first time, can you give a little bit of an intro to what you do now and how you approach
Sure.
space? Yeah.
Thank you. Yes, I've been teaching, as you mentioned, for about 10 years now at Fordham and Seton Hall. And I have a great passion for the marketing industry. And I started recently at the Association of National Advertisers, the ANA. And about 2 years ago, I came up with the idea. Actually, 2 years ago, I started thinking about the book and came up with the concept for the Holy Grail of Marketing. But it's like just a culmination of all my experience and passion for the marketing industry, and to have it out now in the wild on bookshelves and in the hands of really well-known top marketers, it's really exciting. It's excited to be here today to talk about it.
Amazing. Now, I know in your role at the ANA, you're also working on sponsorships and partner programs. Can you tell us a little
Yes.
bit about what that looks like?
Sure. So it's amazing being at the ANA. We're the most reputable, longest standing advertising and marketing association. We've been around 115 years. So I work with our strategic partners and brands that are members of the ANA and help them communicate to our membership what is special about them. So we do that live at events that we have. We have several national industry conferences, now over close to 14. We have an amazing website. We're creating content constantly. We have webinars, podcasts. So I work with the partners to really get their message out there to an influential audience of marketers.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Now, I'm curious, and obviously, this is something that I always think about when I speak to authors. And I know that the seed of the idea you mentioned for the book started percolating around 2 years ago, but I'd be curious if you wouldn't mind digging in a little bit more to what really inspired you to write the book and what was really that jumping off point for you? Where did this come from?
Sure. And I'm going to be really honest about this because it came to me when during the pandemic, I worked remote like everyone else, right? And I got hooked on fast food. I got hooked on Wendy's. I love Wendy's. I love their chicken sandwiches. Their fries, I think, are the best fries. And so I started like ordering Wendy's, hopping on a Zoom call, then going to pick it up. And I noticed on Fridays at 11 a.m., I was starting to get Wendy's ads in my social feeds, right? And I said to myself, this is the Holy Grail of marketing. And it's a framework I'd already been teaching in my class, but I was really like, when I saw this happening, I was like, this is something I got to dive into. Now, so that was one of the things. And then I started like thinking marketing is changing at breakneck speed, right? Everyone is trying to catch up with what's happening with AI setting in. So I said there needs to be this framework, like a North Star for marketers to help guide them through this. And the third thing that I noticed was that as AI was dazzling brands, right? Because it's so easy to execute and it creates such efficiency. What was at risk and what's happening now is brands are losing that emotional connection they have with their consumers. And so I said, this is all really important. these are topics that need to be addressed and need to be shared. So that's really what went into my book. But the framework, the ability to reach the right person with the right message in the right environment at the right time, delivering the right outcome. And that happened with Wendy's because I wasn't going to Burger King or McDonald's. I was going back to Wendy's and spending more at Wendy's. So the outcome was there, and that's so important. And that outcome does need to be the focal point, but it has to be a good outcome, not just a good for the business, but for society, for employees, and so forth. So I just started researching companies that were doing this well. And I was fortunate to meet one of the early hires at Harry's Razors. His name is John Gillis. And I took John through the book and he said, Greg, I'd love to contribute. Let's have a call. He was in London at the time. And so my lead case study, I really break down Harry's Razors when they launched, how they did it. They went up against Goliath. They went up against Gillette, which was owned by P&G, and they had to use all different aspects of the Holy Grail of marketing. But what they did was they focused on the white space in the marketplace, which was an affordable, stylish razor that could be sent to a young dad's home. That was it. No one was really capturing that. And they used their early customers as like their evangelists to go out and preach the word. And they did all different really cool marketing techniques, gamification and different incentives. And so it's a really interesting case study. And then I just started meeting other folks and building. And so it took me almost 2 years to write the book. I think that the best part about the book, and I'm now using it in the classroom, I have several professors throughout the country who have signed on to sign Holy Grail of Marketing to their students. And that's my goal, is really to make it the must-read modern day marketing book. And so it's slowly building, but I really see it swelling quickly, which is really exciting.
Oh, that's fantastic. And I think you're hitting on something that's really important, which is that I think too often, especially these days, like you said, where the technology and marketing itself, it feels like it's evolving just so rapidly. We're
Right.
constantly feeling like, oh, we have to keep up with this new social platform or this new channel or this new technology or this new AI development. And we get so involved in the technology and the advancement and the innovations that sometimes we forget about the foundations. And foundations don't sound sexy. So when it comes to, though, the right questions that you need to ask, what do you think people are forgetting about? And I know that's
Well,
part of your framework. Tell me a little bit about where people need to say, okay, I get that the technology is there, but hold on, before we start talking about the tech, we need to first ask this.
yeah, that's a really good question. One of my contributors is Vera Sue. She's high up at Microsoft, and she is in my chapter on AI. And what she speaks to is the importance of upskilling in the workplace around AI and maintaining that human element when marketing to your brand. And so I think a really important aspect that brands don't always think about is like authenticity, like really being authentic with your message. And sometimes when you get into automation or programmatic advertising buys, that gets lost because you want scale and you want it automated and you want it to go out to the right audiences. But Holy Grail of marketing, the framework is a holistic approach. Each component has to be hit on, or there's a crack where it just leaks and the budget just is wasted. Because think about my Wendy's example. They were reaching me absolutely at the right time, right? 11 a.m. is when I start getting hungry, like most of us do. And they were sending me ads that had utility. It was like offerings, discounts, and beautiful images. And but what if that ad came at 6 in the morning or came at a time when I wasn't in the mindset of eating, right? And what if the ad that you received from a makeup company, wasn't your type of makeup, or you were like you never wear black nail polish, and they were showing you black nail polish. And so it really has to be authentic to what your interests, your desires in the moment, near to that need, that unfulfilled consumer need. And if you can optimize that using the framework, having AI help with that, that's where you achieve optimal success. So it's not just a formula that you put into an automatic buy where you're hitting a demographic, but you really have to go beyond that. And I think that's really, really important. And then the upskilling that Vera talks about is everyone is being told you can use AI, use it in your work, help make you more efficiency. A lot of people call it this superhero power that you obtain by adding AI, and it does. It helps. Your letters are better, your internal communications are better in a second. But there's a lot more that you have to keep in mind in that curation and making sure that you're speaking correctly to specific audiences, whether it's internally or externally. And if you just rely and let AI do it, it can create some really damaging things. And so it's employees do need to be trained and be aware of that. And so I think that's really important.
No, I think you hit on something really key there, which is that using the tool is great, right? Using the capabilities and the technology that we have access to is fantastic, but knowing what you actually want it to do and what success really should look like is really the guide for us. So I'm curious, are
Absolutely.
there any brands that pop to mind, or maybe even examples from the book of brands that you have seen do well navigating that challenge of, okay, I'm trying to go at scale, so I have to appeal to a broad swath of category buyers, but at the same time, to your point, I don't want to sound just bland. I don't want to just be high level that all of a sudden they don't feel like it's really personalized to them. Are there any brands that you've seen
Yeah.
do that well?
Yes, absolutely. When I was researching companies, I came across Weather Company. They were owned by IBM at the time, and they recently spun off. They provide weather data to brands to help them reach audiences at the right time related to weather with empathy. So I was able to get to their CMO, Randy Stipes, and she gave me two incredible case studies. One, which I'll speak about, is Elf skincare. Do you use Elf? Do you know Elf?
Oh yeah, I know Elf. Yeah.
Yeah, they're one of the fastest growing brands. They're buying other beauty product companies. They're Patrick O'Keefe, who recently actually spoke at ANA's digital and social media event, is one of my contributors in the book. He spoke about the Elf campaign that they did for a skin toner that is used in different types of weather, right? So they did this toner glow weather alert campaign. It was like really innovative, but it was directly related to different weather types, and it was really successful. So they weren't just like sending a message up, but they were very thoughtful. Like women, when they put on toners or makeup, they have to keep in mind how humid is it out, what type of makeup. You know much more about this than me. But I thought this is a really good example. So they really put some thought. It was very innovative. It was targeted to seasonality and timing, and the messaging was right on target. And it speaks for itself. Every quarter, they're breaking records, Elf. They're just growing astronomically and doing amazing things. So I think that's the best one to share. But there's all kinds of case studies and in the book that are really exciting and to learn from.
Amazing. So whether you're watching this on YouTube or listening to this on your favorite podcast platform, we'll make sure to include the link to where you can find Greg's book in the show notes. So make sure you check that out, get your hands on a copy of the Holy Grail of Marketing, and check out some of those additional case studies in there.
Yeah. And also my website. So the Holy Grail of Marketing.com. I have a lot of interviews. Actually, when you send me this completed interview, which I can't wait to see, I'm going to post that to Holy Grail of Marketing as well. So there's all kinds of information around the topic, not just the book. So it's
Amazing.
really a lot of useful information.
Thanks for doing that. I'm just thinking, because I'm trying to think about some of the questions I would ask and thinking about this topic. And I know you mentioned that you're not just working with people in roles where they're actually creating these kind of campaigns, right? The professionals and the brands that you work with. But you're also really talking to tomorrow's future marketers in your role as a professor. So when
That's
you
right.
think about your B school students or your students in your courses, what do you think is important, or what would you say to students coming out of B school now about what they should make sure that they have in their skill set or toolkit going into marketing these days?
Yeah, that's a really good question because students are nervous that are marketing majors right now because of the fast pace of change and AI taking over some aspects. It's harder to get entry-level jobs now, not just in marketing, but in a lot of different fields. But what I tell them is the analytics, their opinion, when they write a paper and share their opinion, that will never go away. The importance of that is going to continue, and I think it's going to be even a more important skill because any input, any output that you get from an AI model, you're going to have to curate and give your opinion how it fits. Is it really accurate with our brand ethos is and who we want to target? So that's really important. I also say that upskill, just like Vera Sue shared in the book, take an AI certificate course, learn the latest trends, immerse yourself in it because it's not going away. It's only going to become a bigger part of marketing and a bigger part of business. So I talk about it in my class. And even like when I just went through my syllabus last night at Seton Hall. I'm teaching two classes this semester, one at Seton Hall and one at Fordham. One's a half class. But I tell them up front, I say, I am okay with you using AI. I encourage you to use AI. What I don't want is you to plagiarize. I don't want you to just lift something from AI and turn it in as your paper. And I'll know that right away. And I've seen it. I've seen it now over the last few years. AI has been around for a while now. But the best papers give an opinion and they give a recommendation for increasing success for whatever the brand is. So that's really what I share with them. I say embrace it, learn about it, don't rely on it, and continue to share your opinion, and that will make you successful.
And I think that's a really good reminder for anyone listening to this is that use the tool. I firmly believe, I forget where I originally heard it. I've heard several people talk about this in this way now. There was a time when we started using email more frequently, right? And it's not like you would ever go to an interview now and say, "Oh, I don't use email." You're not
Yeah.
going to get a job. So there's going to be a point at which you can't walk into an interview and say, "Oh yeah, I don't use AI." It's not that unless you're being hired for an AI specialist role, you don't necessarily have to go in and know everything about it, but you have to be proficient. You have to be comfortable.
Yes.
If you're being hired for an email marketing strategist role, yeah, you better know email marketing strategy. But in any role, even if you're being hired in finance or accounting, you need to know how to use email. So now we're talking about AI, I think, in the same way. So I think it's great advice that, okay, you may
Yes.
not necessarily you may not be the next founder of the next AI tech, but you better be proficient and
That's right.
able to incorporate these
Very
technologies.
important. Yeah.
So when you think about, one of the things you mentioned is that even just the roles that are being hired for are changing. How do you see brands doing this well? And the leaders that you've spoken to, have you talked to any leaders that have shared with you their vision for their teams, thinking about both the professionals that you work with as well as and the leaders that you work with, and then the new students that you teach that are now going out into the workforce? What do you see as the future for teams who need to incorporate the foundations and the fundamentals frameworks that you have in your book, but on a tangible basis? How do you build a team to do what they need to actually do?
Yeah. It is changing, but I think it's going to take some time to work through this, but I think over time it'll be very positive for many industries, but marketing in particular, because the work that you'll do as a marketer it'll be very much more interesting, I feel, and you'll be able to really be more personalized and intentional with your marketing at scale. And that is something that has been sought after for so long, and it's finally going to come through with AI. That brands, if you're not authentic and personalized to specific targeted segments, there's no way you're going to be able to win. It's just not going to be possible. And so that becomes really, I think, fun because you'll be able to really deliver a really sound marketing message and over the lifetime of a relationship with a customer that is really powerful. And that's why marketing, by the way, is becoming seen as more of a profit center than a cost center. And that's why marketers now are become compensated much better. And this is a very positive thing for the industry. So I think sales and marketing are increasingly converging. A lot of the marketing that's happening is performance based so that everything's being measured and tracked so that at the end of the quarter or the year, marketers can really show their contribution and be compensated for it, just like a sales team would, which is really great.
No, I think that's a really good point. This combination or coalescence of the way that we're being tracked and measured, that this isn't just an expense line, this is a direct contribution to the sales.
Yeah, and I have a whole chapter on this in Holy Grail of Marketing, the convergence of sales and marketing, and how the Holy Grail of Marketing translates to increased sales. So it's really a great, timely topic around that.
Amazing. Now, there's
Yeah.
one thing I just wanted to dig in and pull on the thread related to what you were talking about when you were talking about the advice that you give to your students about go ahead, use AI, but I want to hear your opinion, right? I want to hear your thought and thinking and original thought leadership when it comes to this issue or this recommendation that you're making for the brand as part of this assignment. This is the reason why I want to pull on this, it comes up a lot in one of the workshops I teach around executive communication and kind of selling ideas, not only to external audiences, but internal audiences. When you think about some of these lessons about, yes, use the technology, but you need to come forward with your opinion too, like, how do you see that coming to life for almost internal audiences as well? So I like the emphasis that you're putting on for your students of, yes, use the tool, but tell me what you really think, you
Yes.
out of your own brain, but focus on that, what's in it for me? Like, how are you positioning this so that it's going to be a win for the brand and all that? So when you think about taking that lesson then and applying it to not just external marketing, but sometimes marketers, we got to sell in ideas internally. Do you have any advice or thoughts
Well,
for
you said it.
that?
You answered your own question, I think.
Yeah.
The win-win. What's in it for them, but what's in it for the company? You can't, it's employees, they go to work. I have a job to do. You have your task list and you go home and what did I do today? What did I accomplish? But like overall, your team's performance now is being based on a new metric, like a new rubric metric.
Yeah, new
And
measure of
uh,
success, right?
yeah, your measure of success. You have to make sure that what you're doing is constantly optimizing to hit those new goals and performance. And it's being looked at, it increasingly looked at as you have all these tools now. Some cases there may be less people doing more. In some cases, the roles may just be shifting and changing, but you have to adapt and really the managers, the directors have to say, looking from top down, is everything we're doing optimizing towards that goal that we have in this new paradigm, in this new way of doing business? And do we need to shift different positions and different roles? So you just got to constantly look at it. It's an iterative process, just like marketing campaigns are. You got to constantly reevaluate, A/B test, do all different things to make sure you're gaining positive results.
I like that. Yeah. So be open to what the market's actually going to tell you, not just assume that it's going to be great, but really look for the,
Yeah.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
fantastic. I really appreciate you being here with us on the Sticky
Oh, it was
Marketing Show,
great.
Greg. Thank you so much.
My
Are there any
pleasure.
parting thoughts? Anything I didn't ask you that I should have asked you, or any final thoughts for our audience?
No, you were very thorough. I'm very impressed with this interview. But no, I would just say that it's AI can be looked at as very much a threat. And there are some things that are happening with hallucinations and things like, but in overall, you have to embrace it and look for the positive and how it can help your teams and grow your business. And then finally, just thank you so much for having me on. I'm so happy you have my book. And I hope everyone can get over to holygrailofmarketing.com and learn more about the movement and what's happening and pick up a copy. So thank you so much.
Absolutely. And for those of you watching and listening to this episode, thank you for joining us. If you had an aha moment, a light bulb, a question that came up for you, drop it wherever you're watching or listening to this in the comments or chat. We would love to hear from you. Please subscribe and like, share with a friend, and don't miss out on the next guest expert that I bring your way. Thank you so much, Greg. And if you want to connect with Greg, I'm going to include all the ways to connect with him in the show notes here. So please take
Awesome.
advantage of that. Get your hands on the Holy Grail of Marketing, and I will see you on the next episode. Cheers.
Bye bye.